Michael,
Hey, Ricky, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic, sir.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you're doing okay. I'm glad everything in your life is peachy and going great for you. That's awesome.
Why, thank you. How are things with
Good.
you?
Things are okay with me. I had some bad news. I discovered that.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's okay. I found out. I discovered that a childhood friend of mine has been dealing with substance abuse.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
and
sorry to hear that.
yeah, I mean he's been hooked on all kinds of stuff. I mean he goes from one
Hmm.
substance to another. Every time he's sent to rehab, he leaves and he goes right back in with a different addiction. Um,
Hmm.
but I recently heard he's back in rehab again because he got addicted to soap. That's how bad it was.
Soap.
Yeah. But the good news
Soap.
is that he's clean now. That's the good news. He's clean. So I hope he does well.
Uh, it's the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Zest. Irish
Zestfully
Spring.
clean.
He's zestfully clean now. I'm happy
Yeah,
for that. Well,
I
tonight,
do prefer Irish Spring myself.
well, you do have a little Irish in you. Not really, but
Maybe. I
maybe.
don't know.
I don't know.
Welsh mostly.
You're a Welch. Well, I never thought of you that way. I always thought you were like an upright guy. So, and tonight I'm going to struggle, which yeah, no different than any other show, but this time it's going to be with my voice, which there's an applause probably going to happen here any minute. Let me say this again. By the way, I'm having some troubles tonight, and I think I'm going to be dealing with my voice, so maybe it might go out. Yeah, thanks, kid. So anyway, excuse me as I cough on the mic, those who are listening to the audio podcast, but welcome. We talked about we always try to come up with different things to do on the show.
Yep.
We try to stay current on reviews and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
recently we talked about, going retro, going back and looking at
Yep.
films that we enjoyed that's inspired us. And tonight we're going to talk about a classic. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
And it's
Great movie.
and there's so great movie. There's so much to talk about. And of course, coming up in a couple of weeks, there'll be the last chapter of Indiana Jones, the
Dial of
Destiny, which
whatever that means.
yeah. Is that a soap? Dial of Destiny?
The Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, they
Maybe
can really
Indiana Jones is getting clean.
yeah, we need to clean up those reviews. So anyway,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. But anyway, before we go any further tonight, talked about Raiders of the Lost Ark and just some of the behind the scenes and how it's influenced the industry and just different questions that maybe you have and I know I have. Do we have any nerdy news, my friend?
I do have some nerdy news. Let's kick it off with some box office news.
Okay.
No real surprise here.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse took the top spot this week.
That's pretty amazing.
But yeah, Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm not surprised it came in number one. What is surprising, the amount it actually took in. It did $120 million over this past weekend.
Yeah.
Making it number 2 for the year, only behind the Super Mario Brothers movie. And it puts it ahead of, for the opening weekend, it puts it ahead of Guardians of the Galaxy.
OMG. Really?
And the big deal is how much better it did than the first animated Spider-Man the movie, Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Huh.
That one only did a total of 190 million.
Huh.
So this one's already done 120 million domestic. It did another 88 million in foreign markets. So it's already
Interesting.
hit a total of $208 million just in its first weekend.
Wow.
Um, so that's pretty impressive. And the Rotten Tomatoes scores are astounding.
Yeah, I was
Critic,
surprised
critics
coming
and
from Rotten.
audience
Yeah, exactly.
both hitting 96%. That
That's pretty
is
amazing.
that's really really high for any recent film. So I'm super impressed with that. Um, all the other ones are kind of all the other movies that are on the list from this past weekend, pretty much as expected. Little
Yeah.
Mermaid brought in about another 40 million. Um, and then you've got the other trailing movies. You've got Guardians of the Galaxy and
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
other movies that are trailing behind that have been out for a couple of weeks. So nothing
Yeah.
really surprising there. This weekend is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts,
Yeah.
and this one actually could. They're predicting this one could hit 155 million. So this would actually, if that happens, that would bump Across the Spider Verse down to number 3 for the year.
Really.
So we'll have to wait and see what this weekend looks like. But Transformers tends to do pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm
you know,
curious. Of course, in this, I think there's a whole new cast, as
mm,
far as I know.
yeah,
So it'd
sounds
be
like it.
interesting. So I wonder if they'll get a clean slate and not be dinged for the past several movies. So I mean,
Yeah,
who's
that's a
directing
little
this? Is
unclear.
Michael Bay? Is Michael Bay directing this one,
You
or is
know,
it someone
no,
else?
I'm not even sure. I have not been into the Transformer movies for a long time, and this
I just
one
know it's been
gets
him for a long time.
yeah.
Every
Well,
time I
and
hear
this one's going to
Transformer,
get
I hear Michael
weird
Bay. So
anyway
yeah,
because it's Rise of the Beast, so it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
bunch of animal robots. You've got gorillas and leopards and things like that. So I don't know what this was going to be like, but box office predictions are pretty high.
Now, those who are watching the actual show, forgive me, I'm putting drinks in me left and right because I'm bound and determined to get this thing
Well, I've got the
taken
same kind of
care of.
problems.
So
Well, since I'm on a movie kick, and since you're dealing with some voice issues, interesting things are happening with the Flash. Flash will be coming out in just a couple of weeks.
mhm.
And one of the interesting things is, well, not super interesting. I don't think anybody's really surprised, but Ezra Miller is not making an appearance on any of the press tours.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, I'm
no,
not
no huge,
surprised.
no huge surprises there. But they are, they're bringing out the directors and producers
Yeah,
and the actress that plays Supergirl. Those are kind of the main people that they're putting out on the press tours. Michael
yeah,
Keaton's getting out there a bit, but mostly because he had convention things set up. Um, and premiere night, they are
yeah,
promoting as a fan event. And apparently, Warner Brothers fan events work like this: the stars walk the red carpet, but they don't talk to reporters. So that's an interesting thing.
yeah.
So it looks like that's how they're going to be doing their premiere, and that'll be
And
coming
they
up
call
really quick.
now. Now they're calling this a fan.
They're calling it a fan event. That's the
So
information I read. So
so
I
does it mean
you
the
know
fans instead of the reporters get to be on the side of the ropes?
I don't know exactly what that means,
Uh,
but the thing that I read specifically was when they call it a fan event, reporters don't get to talk to the actors. The fans get to see them walk the red carpet, and
okay.
that's it. But another kind of interesting thing, apparently Warner Brothers has been putting a huge amount of money into the promotion of this film, including uh, pre-screenings by a lot of famous people, which is why we're seeing tweets from people like Stephen King. was offered a showing of the film, and
Yeah.
um, Tom Cruise was offered a viewing of the film, and I can't remember who else. Um, James Gunn has put out there that it's the best superhero movie ever. I have a problem
I have a
buying
problem
that
with
one.
that, buying that one.
That one's a little. I would say it's biased, but it's not his movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I want to. But they're putting out to tons and tons of critics early,
Yeah.
and it already has a Rotten Tomatoes score for critics with 91 reviews, putting it at 71%.
Yeah. I saw that.
So that's uh,
I'm seeing 7, 6, and maybe 8s is what I'm seeing on some of the like games, I IGN and some of those news outlets like that. Again, those are
yeah,
critics; those are reviews,
yeah.
not
This is all critic
audience. So
reviews. We'll have to wait for the audience. I'm interested to see how this one goes. I'm surprised there's so many critic reviews beforehand
yeah, I read
because
a lot
usually,
of
at
yeah.
least this early.
Well, this might be interesting for you, and I would like to see. I really want to hear what you have to say when you after you see it. I've read a lot of reports about the CGI was not so great, and so I don't know. But that's
I
again, I'm getting that from critics' reviews. But I know that you see
I
those
will.
things. You are
Yeah,
CGI
I
man.
am.
If there was a superhero, you'd be CGI man.
Yeah, I
CGI man.
am. I'm a bit picky, and we'll get into some of
Yeah,
that later
yeah.
when we talk about Raiders.
We got to be kind. I knew this was going to come up. We're going to have to be kind. Okay.
Oh, I will be
Wow.
kind. I will be kind. There are some specific things I want to discuss when we get there. Um, yeah, I'm that saddens me a bit because
Yeah.
this movie has been delayed so much.
Yeah.
They've had plenty of time to fix
Yeah.
any CGI issues.
Now, again, that may be totally different when we see it. I don't know. But again, some of the critics, when you start hearing CGI, well, I mean, CGI is either it's really good or it's really bad,
Yes.
So,
Yeah, CGI is really good when you don't notice it.
yeah,
If you notice CGI, that means the CGI is bad.
exactly.
that that is my rule of thumb. If you go, oh, that's obviously CGI, that means they didn't do a good job. When you watch a movie and you don't realize that 90% of the backgrounds were CGI, even though they really were, because you go watch the
Yeah.
behind the scenes and everybody's just standing in the middle of a green area.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of an awesome CGI is the special editions of Star Wars that Lucas had come out. I mean, it was so
Now, to be fair, that
yeah,
was 24 years ago when, or longer, depending on how old those movies were at the time.
yeah, and
So
yeah,
I mean,
no, I'm talking about the special editions where he added when he took the holy grail of sci-fi Star Wars, he took it, he added all this stuff like Han Solo stepping on Jabba the Hutt tail,
yes,
and he put it out to movie theaters so he could ching ching make some more money. So, but I love Star Wars.
I I I believe you. I believe that you love
I do
Star
love
Wars.
Star with a passion. I do. But
Oh my
anyway,
god.
am I missing? Am I missing anything else? Any other good stuff going on?
Ahsoka did get a official release date. Looks like August 23. It will hit Disney Plus.
Awesome.
What I didn't read, just because I didn't read the whole article, I'm assuming this will be a weekly release again, like
It
usual.
it, it makes sense. It's
Yeah,
smart of
that,
Disney to do that, so it makes total sense to me. I
and it looks like this is going to be a Wednesday release because August 23rd is a Wednesday. So, depending on what we want to do, we could theoretically watch the show and talk about it the following Friday. Well, no, we can't do it because we record on Wednesdays. I don't think we'll be able to do that.
You don't think so?
Be
Why
able
can
to
they not work around our schedule?
exactly.
I mean, that would
We
be,
might have to record on Thursday nights,
and then
and then I'll have to do all the editing that night so we can get it out Friday. I don't know that we're going to
that's
do that.
oh, I think you can do it. You're one of those guys can make it happen. I know you. I
Can
know
make it
you.
happen. Will make it happen. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
um, let's see. Did I have any other? I don't have any other big news. Any other nerdy news that you're aware of right now?
I
I mean,
just read an article,
Barbie
and
movie's coming out.
yeah,
I will
I don't.
say, if you haven't seen the trailers for the Barbie movie,
Yeah,
whether you want to see the Barbie
see it
movie
or
or
not.
not,
Yeah.
you should see the trailers. It is some of the wildest. I
Is it?
watched it and I was in stunned silence watching the trailers to the Barbie movie.
I had this one. Let me see here. I thought it was interesting. Let me see if I can pull it up on my digital phone. My digital phone. It was an article. Let's see here. I may just have to wing it, which I usually do. Usually the whole show I wing it. So,
Well,
but
yeah.
but it was. Oh, here we go. Chris Evans. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, Chris Helmsworth.
Oh, okay.
Chris Helmsworth. He in an interview recently he called Love and Thunder too silly, and
Oh,
he said that we were in the midst of it, and sometimes when you're in it, we're having a good time and we don't see it. But after the
mm,
fact, I realized it was too silly. And that was I did a review right after it when I saw it, and that was kind of my thing about it. It had no weight. It was just too silly. And I loved Ragnarok. I loved
yes.
that. It was a
Ragnarok
good
was a good balance.
it was a good balance. And
Yeah.
then in the previous Thor movies, they had their humor in there,
Hmm.
but there was still this serious tone. But I think this one was too much. But it's interesting that he's made that comment in an interview. So, and I don't
Well,
know
you
if
know,
someone, yeah. So anyway, I
he's
mean,
gonna wait until that last Thor movie that I'm gonna be in comes out before I say anything
yeah,
bad
exactly.
about.
Why not? I
Now that I'm
mean,
probably never gonna play Thor again, now
it's
I
like
can
Mark.
talk about my
Yeah,
movies.
exactly. But
Oh
that's all
my
I have.
goodness.
That's all I have. So, what do we want to do next? What should we do next?
We should probably do some stupid news.
Oh, give me some stupid news.
It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
Well, we have a special stupid news tonight, folks.
Oh
Out
no.
there, you get a chance to hear. It's a double hit, and it's all from that boot in the United States. That's right. It's in Miami, Florida. A Florida man donned a unique disguise to burglarize a Miami Garden supermarket. Claude Vincent Griffin Jr., 33 years old, was caught on a surveillance camera haphazardly wearing a cardboard box as a mask when breaking into a glass display containing iPhones. The police alleged that Griffin stole over $30,000 worth of merchandise, according to the arrest
What?
affidavit. Now, the Miami Gardens Price Choice supermarket manager, that's a mouthful, said he learned that the same intruder had broke in his store 3 times earlier Saturday morning. A review of the store's surveillance system quickly revealed many of the details of the incident, which yeah. So anyway, police alleged that Griffin entered the supermarket unmasked through a rear door. It's a real door. Oh my goodness. Through a rear door typically used to access product storage. The store's functional security alarm did not go off during the 3 incidents.
Oh no.
He stole multiple scratch off tickets and cigarettes during the first before exiting. An hour later, Griffin returned to the supermarket wearing a box to conceal his face before approaching a kiosk that contained phones and jewelry. Captured on the surveillance camera, a box-wearing bandit used a blunt object to break into a glass display. Griffin can be seen putting multiple iPhones into his backpack, one which the police allege he was carrying as at the time of his arrest. Now, this
Oh
is
no.
this is the key right here. Okay, he said,
Okay.
"Yeah, yeah." Before, let's get down to the good stuff here. That's what I get for not scrolling correctly. However, Griffin apparently did not cut eye holes in his mask. That's right. Yeah,
What do you like? Lift the box? What?
he said as Griffin was breaking into the glass, the box covering his facial features fell to the ground, allowing surveillance video to capture the image of his face. Yes, sir. Yeah. He was breaking the glass. He could not see what he was doing. And of course, then the box fell off because he was trying to steal the merchandise. Imagine that. Oh
Mind
my
you,
goodness.
if I heard you correctly, he'd already broken in once without the box.
Yeah. No, you're correct. You're correct. Yes.
Oh my.
I don't get it. Maybe he worked for, I'm not going to say it because then we'll get dinged for it. But so anyway, before leaving the store on the second robbery, Griffin similarly broke into another glass display case to steal multiple watches. So the police alleged that Griffin returned to the store a third time, prying open a cash box, stealing more iPhones, and nabbing some phone chargers on his way out. Because you got to have phone chargers for those stolen phones. It makes sense.
Exactly. Exactly.
So the police estimate the total value. Police estimate the total value of stolen merchandise is over $30,000, along with over
Wow.
$2,000 worth of vandalism damage. Police arrested Griffin, who later confessed to the theft. He is being held on bond at a local corrections center.
Oh my.
So I thought I would give Florida a chance, kind of give him a break, but nope, not tonight. A Florida man was arrested for driving under the influence. That's right.
Oh,
Vero
okay.
Beach, Florida. The Florida man was arrested for driving under the influence, but told officers he was only drinking at stop signs and stoplights, not while driving.
Officer, I promise I was only drinking while the vehicle was at a complete stop.
Exactly. Makes total sense to me. Total sense. I don't get it. Oh, okay. Sometimes I don't get it. Okay. Oh, they
Okay.
make my job so easy. Okay.
Oh.
Indian County sheriff's deputies were called to a McDonald's in Vero Beach because of a car that was repeatedly bumping the car in front of it in a drive-through. When a deputy arrived, he found Earl Stevens, 69, in his vehicle with an open brown paper bag and a Jim Beam bottle in the passenger seat. He told deputies he didn't recall bumping the car in front of him. Stevens, who only had a Florida ID, told the responding deputy that he never had a valid Florida driver's license. Okay, the deputy noted that
Wow.
the deputy, get this, the deputy noted the strong smell of alcohol on
Imagine
Stevens'
that.
breath and saw his eyes were red and his speech was slurred as he asked him how he was feeling. His response was, "I'm feeling pretty good." "I'm feeling pretty good," Stevens told the deputy, according to the arrest affidavit. Stephen tells the deputy he had about 3 or 4 drinks, but wasn't drinking while he was driving the car or while it was moving anyway. Only when he stopped for stop signs and traffic signals. That was the only time he took a drink. Stephen also
Oh
told
my.
deputies he had a prescription medication before he began driving and admitted to actively drinking from Port St. Lucie to Indian River County. So he had a good travel, but at least he
Nice.
stopped drinking on the road only when he was at stops. So that's so Stevens was asked to do a field sobriety test where he was observed swaying from side by side and allegedly later blew a .53 and a
Wow.
.147 on the breathalyzer test.
Wow.
So your guess is he was arrested and charged with DUI, driving without a valid Florida license. Of course, the deputy says he also has 2 prior DUIs in Missouri. So, but hopefully in Missouri he does the same thing. He stops, don't he drinks, then he
Only while the
goes.
vehicle is at a complete stop.
That's right. That's our public service announcement from Stupid News. And that's Stupid News, my friends.
This has been the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
Is this really tea? Has a little kick to it.
Well, you know,
Anyway,
you're only
yeah,
drinking while you're stationary.
that's right. That's what responsible adults do.
Oh,
Folks, don't drink and drive unless you're at a
oh,
yes. Folks, do not drink and drive unless you are at a parked position. So anyway, yeah. So tonight we're going to talk about Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yes.
Um, it's probably one of the. I think it's one of the greatest films out there. I really enjoy Indiana Jones, but I watched it again.
Definitely in my top 10.
Yeah, and that yeah, exactly. So Raiders of the Lost Ark, we're not going to tell the story because if you've seen it, you've seen it. And this is all about talking about how this movie has influence and behind the scenes. We're going to mention
Yes.
some of our favorite scenes. Comment below some of your favorite scenes and what did you think about it? And we're going to talk about later on in your comments. Let us know, does it still hold the test of time? That's going to be
Yes.
interesting. So we'll talk about that later. But Raiders of the Lost Ark, it was came out in 1981, and just
Wow.
it was directed by Steven Spielberg, and of course written by George Lucas, and starring, of course, we know Harrison Ford. Uh, so anyway, but and of course it sets. I'm not going to explain the story, but the film was inspired. The film was inspired by uh, the old Hollywood serials that Spielberg and George Lucas,
Hmm.
the film producers and co-writers grew up watching. And so,
Yeah.
it was those kind of films. Usually, I guess they were back in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Always had the cliffhangers where you came back. They were kind of I don't know. I don't even think they were B movies. They're basically, they called them serial because they were like maybe 15 minutes at least, or if not even
Yeah.
that. So it was released on June 12th, 1981, and it said Raiders became not the year's top grossing movie and remains one of the highest grossing movies ever made. You got some box office information on that, don't you?
I can.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought you didn't mean to put you on the spot there. That's what
Oh my goodness.
you're Mr. Box Office.
I know. I
You,
should have. I actually thought about it earlier and I completely forgot.
I thought,
Uh,
I asked myself, should I do it? Nah, Mr. Box Office will do it.
I will some
Yeah,
creative editing here.
that's okay.
Um, yeah, actually, that movie domestically brought in. This is across all releases, so even if it was
Okay,
re-released, it made $248 million domestically,
really?
worldwide total of 389 million. So
Uh-huh.
when you say one of the highest grossing films ever, yes, but probably they're talking about um, adjusted for inflation because that's 42 years ago.
Yeah.
And, think about 42 years ago, movie tickets didn't cost $14 a pop.
No, they didn't. No, no,
So
no.
a lot of people went and saw that movie to get it to its original release was worldwide was $212 million, just over its original release. No second releases.
No second
And
releases.
yep. And its domestic opening was $8 million, but adjusted for inflation, that's
Oh, okay. Well,
probably
I guess you're right. I guess if we're going to we have to look at inflation. And
yeah.
I mean, at the time. So, hey, I'm just reading other people's information. That's what I do here. But no, but now they said, now this is interesting. Raiders of the Lost Ark was nominated for 8 Academy Awards in 1982, including Best Picture, won
Mm,
four, won four for Best Art Direction, Film
mm.
Editing, Sound, and Visual Effects, with the
Could I could see
yeah,
that.
Fifth Academy Award, a Special Achievement Award for Sound Effects Editing. So,
Wow.
I mean,
So another interesting little tidbit. According to Box Office Mojo, what do
mm-hmm.
you think the budget was for Raiders?
um,
Now
I know it's
imagine this
yeah,
is 48
4
years,
years
42
ago.
years ago. Just
I'm gonna
best guess.
my best guess. 500,000.
Oh, no, more than that. More than that.
Okay,
This
I
was
thought it was a
millions of
trick. I thought
dollars.
it was a trick. I
Well,
thought you were
not
trying to trick it.
it's not a trick, but you think about major motion pictures like The Flash.
It's
The
yeah. I
Flash
mean,
is
it's
about to come
probably
out and they're saying the budget was probably 200 million for The Flash.
200 million for the Flash.
200 million budget for The Flash.
I would say somewhere to 15 to 20 million.
You're actually right in the area.
Yeah.
18 million. Um,
Okay.
so when we say that movie in its original release made $212 million,
Yeah.
and it only cost $18 million
Yeah.
to make
That
it.
says a lot.
That
Yeah.
is enormous viewing.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, for that price. I mean,
In today's market, if $100 million movie makes $200 million, it's a success.
yeah. Yeah. I was it's the relationship between George Lucas and Steven Spielberg is kind of interesting. It's from reading an article. They said that George Lucas first told Steven Spielberg about Raiders of the Lost Ark when they were both on vacation in Hawaii, and it was back in 1977. Spielberg just got away from the weekend from finishing up a post production of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And while
Great
Lucas
movie.
wanted to this is funny. While Lucas wanted to get away as Star Wars was coming out that weekend, he was afraid that it was going to bomb at the box office. So that's why. That's why. Yeah. So
So Raiders of the Lost Ark exists because George Lucas bailed on opening weekend for Star Wars
exactly,
because he thought it was going to
gonna
bomb.
bomb. Isn't that funny?
That's brilliant. That's
That's
brilliant.
brilliant. That's some interesting stuff.
Remind me to throw out a bizarre and random tidbit on Star Wars Star Wars and uh, Raiders.
Okay.
Little trivia that's related to a third movie.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
Yeah.
just remind me when we
Yeah. I will
later, and
do
I'll
that.
throw that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, doing the research, I watched it a week ago, Raiders, and it was like, wow, I've forgotten, and I've forgotten about the style. And I love time. I love time pieces. I like period pieces. And
I was
so
going to say that is one thing that I was going to mention. This is not just a movie that was made in 1981.
yeah,
This is a period piece
yeah,
that's set in 39.
yeah, I
So
think,
pre World War
yeah,
II.
Yeah, I think I think it was. Let's see. The film is set in 1936 when the Nazis are trying to find the Ark of the Covenant. The
Or
Bible
36. I said 39. Sorry.
36. Well, 36, and then which is interesting because, from my understanding, Temple of Doom is supposed to be actually before this. So
Yes, I had read that somewhere, and I always thought
yeah,
that was odd, but I was okay, whatever.
I'll just go with it. Why not? But yeah, so yeah, I was interesting on that. He said when the film was successful, and that was he was talking about Star Wars. The two ponder what to do next. So Spielberg told Lucas he wanted to do a James Bond film, and this is how it came up. And then
Oh, okay.
Lucas said that he had him beat. He laid out this idea about a swashbuckling throwback adventure, kind of based on the Saturday matinees, and he said the title, is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So they started thinking of a name for the character. So Lucas named the main character Indiana Smith. And that was
Okay.
going to be the name. Now Spielberg protested it. He hated it. He said it was too similar to the 1966 Steve McQueen Western Nevada Smith and asked to have it changed. So they agreed that the name should be a universal and nondescript name as Smith. So they threw it out, and that's when they came up with Jones. So and this is a funny part, and this is a reference I just got, and it was a reference on The Last Crusade, but way before then, they said that Indiana came from Lucas's dog, an
Yes.
Alaskan Malamute named Indiana.
I wondered if you knew about that.
And the same mutt was also inspired for Chewbacca. So I
Nice.
thought, yeah. So isn't
Okay,
that
so since we're on this subject of things that are related to movies, I'm going to
okay?
bring up my bit of trivia.
Yeah,
Now,
go ahead.
you might know this. So you know the movie Spaceballs.
Awesome movie.
Yes.
Awesome
So
movie.
apparently the story goes, now this is the story goes. I can only assume this is true. But
Yeah.
Mel Brooks supposedly went to Lucas and said, "Hey, I want to make a spoof on Star Wars. Are you okay with that?" Now, mind you, I'm pretty sure Mel Brooks would have done it anyway. Um, but apparently he asked, and Lucas said, "Oh yeah, sure, go for it." I just one thing. Um, if you have a character like Han Solo, he can't be dressed like Han Solo. Okay, so we've got this character in Spaceballs called Lone Star, and
Yeah.
he can't be, he's a Harrison Ford ripoff, but he
Yeah.
can't be dressed as Han Solo. So Mel Brooks dressed him like Indiana Jones.
That is so funny. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
look at his
yeah, that's
outfit.
true. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Indiana
He's got the
Jones.
similar vibe of
That's
Indiana
totally a Mel
Jones.
Brooks thing, right? Totally Mel Brooks things. That is awesome. I really like that. Man. Um, it's interesting some of the actors and actresses they had in mind for this movie before Harrison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think I've heard this.
oh yeah, they said they had actors and actors they considered for the lead role of Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenwood. So I thought, and actually I thought it was interesting. One of all people was Valerie Bertinelli. She
Oh,
was
okay.
one they was thinking of. Of course, that was
Okay.
back at once at a time. It was a show in the
Yeah.
'70s,
Yeah. I
a
mean,
sitcom.
that could have worked.
Yeah, I mean, some of these. I mean, Deborah Winger was one, very
Deborah
young
Winger
Deborah Winger.
definitely could have been
Yeah.
Marion. That I would buy that.
Another one, which I was surprised, is Jane Seymour. She was,
Okay.
yeah, from I guess she was the medicine woman at one time. I
Yeah.
can't remember, something like that. But
Yep.
this one was really interesting. This is the one that kind of got my attention. And what was her name? I'm going to show her, but this Sean Young, I think is her name. She played in,
Oh, in Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. That's right.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
I saw this photograph and I thought I'm going to show this one because most people are going
She.
to know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The minute you popped that on there, I was like, oh, yeah, I know
Yeah.
who that is. I didn't know that was her name, but I know
Yeah.
where she's from. That that would have been interesting,
Wouldn't that be?
just because I always think of her as being such a serious actress.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even though Blade Runner, when I say serious, I mean serious role, not serious movie. Because Blade
Yeah.
Runner is total fantasy and way out there, but it's really dark and 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 um it's just got that heavy weight to it. So I, with the amount of comedy and almost slapstick that you get sometimes with
Yeah.
the Raiders, I don't know if she would have been a good choice.
Yeah. I don't know either. They had some other actresses, but I'm not familiar with that. Mary Steenburgen was another one that was
Okay.
on there. Yeah, I mean, now the now the male cast, actors that they had in mind for Dr. Jones, this is kind of interesting. Of course, thank goodness we ended up getting Karen Allen. I
Oh,
mean,
Karen Allen,
it's a
yeah.
good thing that we got Karen Allen. I think
Oh,
she
yeah.
was
She did
perfect for this
great.
part. Did a
Oh,
great job.
absolutely.
But now let's look at who would have been the actor who could have been Indiana Jones. Would it be Mark Harmon? He was
I mean, not horrible, but I can't
yeah,
not think of
I can't
NCSI, right?
I can't either.
Now.
Another serious contender was Don Johnson.
Uh,
Yeah.
that would have, I don't think that would have worked.
And believe it or not, he was also on the list. David Hasselhoff.
The
The
Hawk.
Hall. Now the
I
actual
don't think I don't think we would have multiple Indiana Jones movies.
no, I think that would have been it. But actually the person that they wanted in the beginning was Tom Selleck. They wanted Tom Selleck
Okay, now
really bad.
I could actually buy that.
Yeah. Now,
You know,
of course, the problem with that is that CBS got wind of that, and they basically the network legal barred, the
oh,
actor
because
because he still Magnum
still
PI.
had a
He was still on
contract with
that
Magnum PI.
Magnum
Yep.
PI. But so it was a good
And,
thing we had. Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure they shot in Hawaii, so they probably could have even met with.
Well, what's interesting too, George Lucas did not want Harrison Ford playing this part. He
Really?
did not. He did not want his Han Solo character playing in this movie.
Oh,
And so, but Steven Spielberg, before they start doing publicity photos, he brought Harrison Ford in 2 weeks before that, so it was too late for George to say anything. So I thought, which gratefully he did. I
yeah.
can't
I
imagine anybody else playing Indiana Jones.
Not
You
at
know,
this point. Yeah. And I mean, he does kind of have some of that Han Solo rough and tumble to him,
yeah,
but he's also it's such a different character though. I mean,
yeah, it is.
yes, he does some adventure stuff, but you see him teaching in the classroom and he's mousy and unsure and he stutters and he's
Hmm.
not confident teaching this. Like he absolutely knows what he's teaching.
Hmm.
He absolutely knows the subject cold, but he's super awkward in presenting.
Oh yeah, and he's excited about it. You can tell that he was
Oh yeah,
enthusiastic about it. But I mean, his class probably could care less.
absolutely. And we really don't you don't see that with Han Solo. Han Solo
No,
is
you don't.
always overconfident in every situation, in every place, in every way.
Yeah,
he,
exactly.
so
Yeah.
there is definitely a difference. Um, Indiana Jones comes across as I do adventure things because I have to, not because that's who I am.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
when I see it, I mean, I think he is more he's the intellectual teacher. Then I go on these adventures because that's the only way I can actually do the work I need to do.
Yeah. 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 He's totally driven by his work, and it's his. He has this code of ethics about bringing it to the museum to preserve it.
Yes.
And plus, he gets a finder's fee for it, but nothing in comparison if you put it in the black market or something like that, which a lot of times he contends with other archaeologists,
Which is part of
which
the
is
plot of this movie.
exactly.
And honestly, there's a big scene where he has the opportunity to destroy an artifact
Yes.
to keep it out of the hands of the bad guys,
Yeah.
and the bad guys use that 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 personality that you were just talking about. They
Hmm.
basically use it against him and say, all right,
Yeah.
go ahead, blow it up,
Go ahead and do it.
blow
Yeah.
it up, Mr. Jones.
Because they
And
know him.
he can't bring
Yes.
himself to do it. So
Well,
Han
he,
Solo would have totally blown it up and run off with the girl.
Well, Blaylock is his competitor, and he knows
Mm,
him and Jones has been competing for a long time. And
yes.
Blaylock is a French archaeologist who is employed by the Germans, by the Nazis, to find the Lost Ark. And so, he Harrison Ford, I mean, Indy sees he's sold his soul to
Oh
the
yeah.
Nazis, but it's all about him wanting, he's
Hmm.
enthusiastic. He also wants the prize, and he
Yeah.
doesn't care about the means. He wants the prize, which is the Ark.
Right.
Another person I want to mention real quick, who would have gotten a part if it wasn't for a contract. This particular actor. Now we all know John Rhys Davis, who plays Sala, which
Oh
is
yes.
I really like him.
Great actor.
He's a
Great
great
part.
actor. I yeah, he's really great in this.
And
And
he returns in the new movie, I believe.
yes, I don't know how much of it, but I
He at
really like
least
the
has a part.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guess who was the person that was going to? They asked to play him first.
John Candy.
Hmm. Danny DeVito.
Oh, that's
Danny,
worse.
Danny DeVito.
Oh,
His
I don't.
his
Yeah.
yeah his
Oh.
Well, it's funny. Later on, they did a movie, "Romancing of the Stone," which was supposed to be kind of it was Michael
Yes.
Douglas, and anyway, they were, of course, Danny DeVito was in it, and he played like anyway, one of the baddies. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
but because of at the time, Taxi, the show Taxi on ABC,
Yep.
he was also committed for the
Interesting.
contract. Thank goodness that the evil studio kept them on their contracts, because it would have been really bad. And of course, Denham Elliott, who plays Brody.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. So he also, which is another character, which you've seen him. He was in the first, second, and third, and then the Albatross. The of I guess he was not in the fourth one because of course, he passed on by that time.
Right.
Um, But yeah, there was a lot of different things in Raiders of the Lost Ark with special effects. I mean, they did, because of shooting schedules, they stay on budget. They did a lot of their
Yep.
stuff. It kind of reminds me of what they did with Star Wars. They use miniatures, which I
Yes.
thought was interesting. They use miniatures and
And so much
diorama.
practical effects in this movie.
Yeah, it was real and practical. Um,
And
they
you mentioned earlier, does the movie hold up? I think the look of the movie in general, because it's a period piece
yeah,
and because there is so much practical effects. Now,
yes,
mind
I
you, this is
agree.
the 80s.
Yeah,
So, digital stuff really wasn't a thing.
no,
And, a lot of the special effects, um, they were more difficult to do, and,
yeah,
it's compositing. But the practical stuff, it looks, it is and looks so natural that I think it works really well even today. When we see a truck
yeah,
blow up, they really blew something up.
Yeah,
You know,
and yeah, and there was a lot of close. I mean, close call scenes, for the actors,
mm,
because they were using, Indiana Jones, except for being dragged underneath a truck. Most of the stunts he did himself, and
yeah.
was injured several times in these stunts. So I mean, he really earned his money on this, which I think is pretty interesting. For instance, the scene. Let's see what it is. The boulder. I think the most
Oh
one of
yeah.
the iconic is the boulder scene where he picks up
Yes.
the idol. He starts running. There's the boulder, and that was a big deal. And from understanding on that is the boulder nearly crushes, Indy as he escapes, but in
Hmm.
reality, Harrison Ford is actually running away from this boulder. Okay, and what it is Reynolds, who was one of the prop manager special effects, he brought a 22-foot in diameter fiberglass boulder on the set. They said Spielberg loved it so much he wanted to extend the rolling boulder another 50 feet to make it a significant part of the end of the scene. At first, it wasn't going to be a big scene. And
Oh, okay.
so, yeah, so there was a comment that Spielberg said on this. He said he won 10 times and beat the odds. He said he was lucky. He said he was lucky and I was an idiot for letting him try. So, yeah, they shot that thing several times and he literally ran from that boulder. So, and it was about, I think they were saying it was about, yeah, it says it was 300 pounds.
So if it hit him, it wouldn't kill him, but it would hurt really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, I said, yeah, they said that it was a 12-foot fiberglass boulder, weighed about 300 pounds, and rolled down a 40-yard track, and Ford had to outrun it several times, avoiding being crushed.
That's funny.
Wow.
I
That,
mean, it stuff like that. I sometimes I wish movies would still do things practically,
yeah,
even though they can do it CGI. Some of the practical stuff just looks so nice. Um,
yeah,
and then and then we get to just talking about special effects.
yeah.
The melting face is one of the most, the boulder and the melting face are probably the two most iconic
Me
things
too.
in this whole
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
And the melting face is brilliant. It is a
yeah,
practical effect.
yeah,
The only thing they really did was they sped it up.
yeah.
I actually
Exactly.
I watched a little short on it,
Yeah,
and they said it took, in reality, it took them about 10 minutes to melt,
yeah,
and they basically developed, the guys at ILM developed the stuff that he used to make the gel that the face was made of, and he
yeah,
like layered it, and he put things in that would kind of look like veins. And
yeah. Exactly.
I
Yeah,
don't know that that really comes through in the film
yeah,
as much, but just the way it drips and the way it melts,
yeah.
it looks fantastic still, I think.
Yeah, and they had one where Bollock's exploding. He had his exploding head, and it was made of mostly the same material, that you were talking about. But
Yeah.
but instead, they had meat and liver was placed inside of it, and it was
Gross.
yeah. So it was so gruesome that to avoid an R rating, the effects team had to add a pillar of fire in the shot in the foreground to tone down it, so they could stay at PG-13. So
Well,
yeah,
speaking of that idea, this movie is such a weird combination to me. There's a
hmm
lot of humor. There's some fights that are almost slapstick
yeah,
ridiculous. Like one of the things I think is hysterical. Indiana Jones is fighting off, all these guys in turbans,
I know where you're
and
going
Marion is smacking them with a
with the
metal,
metal. Yeah,
like a metal
frying
tray,
pan.
just
Yeah, something like that.
like Indiana lays them out, and then she takes this metal tray and goes bang, bang on top of
Bang,
their
bang.
heads multiple times just to keep them down. And then she, later she picks up the frying pan, which is probably where the Disney movie Tangled decided to give their lead person a frying pan as her weapon. So there's some of that humor, but then there are so many jump scares,
Yeah, exactly.
horror film style jump scares.
Yeah,
Then there's the exploding head and the melting face
yeah,
that
exactly.
are the things of nightmares from kids in the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, it got me. I had to look the other way. I remember watching it. You know.
Yeah. It is such an interesting movie that it doesn't it jumps all over the place. It's got
Yeah,
this real humor. It's got this real horror feature, but then it's action adventure.
yeah.
It's hard to place because of all those different parts in it.
It's just amazing how they can just bring all these genres together. You know, a little
Yeah.
bit of horror, a little bit of comedy. Of course, a little drama. Action. All within this movie, and it's good dialogue. I mean, a lot of it is
Oh
really
yeah.
good dialogue in the movie, and of course you could. And what I liked about it too, we've talked about this before. Lucas and Spielberg too, they're really good about we don't want a big bunch of big names. A lot of studios want you
Yeah.
to have these big names, but Harrison Ford, he was known from, of course, I
Starting to
think
get known well.
in Star Wars, and they thought, of course, Spielberg thought he was perfect for it. But then some of these lesser known people, you know, like is it Allen? Yes, Karen
Karen
Allen.
Allen.
I don't remember her from any other movies. She may have played some other movies, but during that time, some of these people were kind of unknown, or if they were known, they would be actors, or they were really deep supporting actors that sometimes are not under the spotlight. So, but awesome casting, and of course, a lot of them have some great background. I mean, they've been, Shakespeare actors,
Hmm.
and kind of the same way, like in Star Wars, Guinness, several. They have several, Shakespearean actors in Star Wars. So I think that's
Yeah,
interesting to
their
me.
big names are in these early movies. The big names were not the lead actors; they were the supporting
Exactly.
roles, and the big
Exactly.
names weren't well known in the U.S. a lot.
No, no, it's not. One of my favorite scenes, and I thought it was funny. Well, it's kind of sad at the same time. There was a scene, one of my favorite scenes, where you talked
Yes,
about how Indy has to take out all these guys, and here comes this big Arabian butched, strong man with his sword
scimitar.
scimitar, and of course we all remember that Indiana Jones just said, "Okay, I'm not going to do this," and he shoots him. Now this scene was actually uh, improvised by Harrison Ford. That was not supposed to be in the line. The problem, and this is what's interesting, the scene, in that scene, it was improvised because
Okay,
Ford, and the reason was because this was in what was this? Tunisia. This was in
okay.
Tunisia. So
Why
apparently,
does Lucas like Tunisia so much?
well, the daily temperature was like average over 100 degrees. And they said the cast and crew were all suffering from nasty stomach bugs. Ford was ill. He had to run back to his trailer every 10 minutes to use the toilet. And that was
Oh my
one
gosh.
reason why he shot the guy, because he had to run to the toilet instead of fighting him. Um,
Oh my
but
gosh.
what's
Well,
funny is that,
Tunisia
yeah,
is where they shot all the Tatooine shots.
yeah, exactly.
So what is
Yeah.
it about Lucas
I
and
don't
Tunisia?
know. I have no idea. But what's funny, a there was a comment in there that said Spielberg, the director, he only drank bottled water and he ate canned spaghetti he brought from the UK, and he kept it in his hotel room. So There you go.
I don't blame him one bit.
No, no, don't eat the fish. Don't drink the water. So yeah. So anyway, there was a lot of that. One of my other the Well of Souls to uncover the Ark.
Hmm.
That particular scene where they had the snake scene. That's another one. Indiana Jones hates snakes, and what was interesting about that in that scene, Spielberg, he wanted, the production initially had about 2,000 snakes down in there, but Spielberg wanted more. He wanted to cover the floor, so Spielberg estimated about 7,000 more snakes to make it scary. And so his producers raid all the pet stores and shops in London and throughout Europe to get these things, even to the point where they ended up getting like rubber snakes and hoses, even rope pipes to fill the set. And they were just talking about how Ford and Allen were so terrified of snakes. And they had to like overcome their fear in this film because it was like, oh my goodness. It was, yeah, I mean, think about it. The scene where all these snakes, and I don't know,
So,
it's
so speaking of the fear of snakes, um, I I love this about this movie. They build up Indiana Jones
mm-hmm.
early in this movie
Oh yeah,
of not being scared of anything.
yes,
Because you start out, which I thought this is brilliant. This is Spielberg esque movie making right here.
yeah,
The first 2 minutes of the movie, there's hardly any dialogue.
yeah,
It's like minute 4 before you ever even see Harrison Ford, the lead actor's
exactly,
face.
yeah,
And then when you see it, he's tough guy, and he's in the jungle, and then
yeah,
he goes into this cave, and he gets spiders on him, and he doesn't
huge
flinch.
tarantulas,
He doesn't flinch. He just brushes them off like they're no
yeah,
big deal.
yeah,
But he is scared of snakes.
that's right. And it's funny they build it up because when he runs for
Yes.
his life, being chased by these I guess these natives trying to hit him with spears and blow darts, he has a guy who's waiting for him on one of those flying planes, water planes,
Yeah.
and there's a snake inside of it. And then, of course, later on,
Yeah.
there's all the snakes. They said that also at one point the snake, when they was down there, apparently there was this very thin plexiglass or a thin sheet between the Cobra and Ford when he was down
Okay.
there.
I could
It was
see
very
that.
thin. They He said that it was a scene where the Cobra rises
Yeah.
and was hissing at Indy, and they said at one point the snake became agitated and threw venom at that glass.
Ooh.
They said they had medics wearing hazmat suits and carrying syringe of anti-venoms just outside the camera range just in case. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's some
I
realism
mean,
there.
yeah. So I'm saying that scene where he's face to face with that Cobra, there's a glass or something
Apparently
that's
there's a
there.
piece of glass in between. That's a brilliant way to shoot that.
Yeah. I heard one time and I don't remember it, but one of the they were trying to say that during the thunder scene, the light, there was a slight reflection of the glass, but
Mm,
I don't remember that, but that was kind of one of
yeah.
the things they were saying. They pointed out maybe a flaw or something. I don't know.
Could be.
All I know, I
Um
hated snakes too. So
I was gonna say I'm not a big fan of snakes, but one of my favorite lines is, why does it look like the floor is moving?
is moving. Yeah. And he throws down the torch and there it is. Man.
uh,
This is one we've seen memes of before, and I thought it's in the same area where Indiana Jones finds the Ark of the Covenant,
mhm.
and in the scene, they put
Is that the R2D2 and
that's
C3PO
art.
right there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Isn't that something? That was just some kind of a Easter egg,
Little
which I
Easter
thought,
egg
yeah,
homage. I mean,
homage.
yeah, Spielberg and Lucas did that with Star Wars too, and Star Wars and ET. You know, we've
Hmm.
got Star Wars action figures in the ET movie.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So these are great friends that have fun together.
exactly. They they had a lot of opportunities to get hurt in this film, and of course, another special effect, is the it almost looks like something out of Ghostbusters, where they have all of a sudden all
Yes.
the spirits come out of the ark, and of course, Indy tells Ravenwood, "Don't look at it." It's almost
Yeah.
like it's almost like Sodom and Gomorrah. Lots, don't look back. Don't look
Yeah.
at it. Look the other
Oh,
way.
and I will say this is the one effect that doesn't hold up well today,
No,
in my
it
opinion.
doesn't. That's my
All
opinion
the
too.
things of all the things in this movie, this is the one effect that, I mean, for 1981, this was great.
Yeah.
Today, this is the one effect that doesn't hold up.
Yeah, and there was also a scene, and I can't remember where the background where you saw lightning.
Oh
It
yeah, there is
it
the one scene where
it
there's a storm. It's a
and it
little,
just it's you can see it felt like a green screen basically.
yeah,
It just
yeah.
yeah,
It's not as good as it could have been.
yeah,
Yeah, that one's one of those where, yeah, I think it does stick out a little more than it should. But I
yeah,
don't think that one is as bad as this one.
yeah. I don't
Um,
think so either.
but I don't know that there's any way they could have done it better than what they
For
did in
that time,
1981.
yeah, yeah. They had a one more. I had another close death experience, which I one of my favorite scene. Other favorite scene is where Indiana Jones is fighting with the mechanic, German mechanic,
Oh yes,
on this bomber as it's turning around the propellers, and we all knows what happens there. But um, there is a point where the German mechanic is, of course, he's mauled by the propeller. So
yeah.
the plane ran over, but in that scene, the plane actually ran over Harrison Ford's knee
Ouch.
while filming the scene, tearing his ACL. And he wrapped it up, iced it, and carried on filming.
Ugh.
And yeah, he said that, yeah, it was. And then there was a scene where, he's where he jumped on the pickup, trying to take
Yeah.
out one of he had that on him too. I mean, so he kept doing it over and over again.
Yeah,
I,
that's one thing that, speaking of the guy in the propeller,
yeah,
I had forgotten how bloody this
yeah,
movie was.
oh yeah,
You a lot of it happens off screen, but you still see a lot of splash.
yeah,
The other thing is, I had forgotten how many people get shot and die in this movie.
yeah, yeah,
Hundreds of people.
yeah, exactly. I think on the same scene with the with that German bomber that was still spinning around, there was a scene where Indy and Marion escapes from the Nazi plane that explodes. That there's that scene where the gas comes down, it's
Oh yeah,
running
yeah,
towards the tanks, and of course Harrison Ford and the mechanics still fighting, and finally the guy gets hit by the blades, and the both of them they start running off. And again, this goes back to not having special effects, and the aircraft is rigged with explosions. So, but during one take, a gust of wind blew into the flames towards Harrison Ford and Karen Allen,
oh,
and they had to run for their lives because the thing, I mean, it exploded in the direction they weren't expecting. The
mm,
guy who played the Nazi mechanic, he suffered a leg burn out of it. So, I mean,
ouch.
but these are like real stunts.
Yeah,
So you got to give it up. I mean, really,
people
and
really made movies in the 80s.
they did, Either they did or they didn't. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It was
exactly.
all or nothing in the
Yeah.
80s.
Another thing I read was interesting was that despite having Lucas and Spielberg behind the movie, it was initially turned down by every studio in Hollywood. Only after a lot of persuasion, Paramount agreed to do it. Isn't that something?
Interesting. even
Yeah.
after knowing how well Star Wars did. Oh, I guess just I mean, Star Wars did really well, but I guess they just decided this was too far
Maybe
afield.
I think if he would have came to him with a sci-fi, they would have done it. I think
Probably,
we I think it's because it was a period piece,
yeah,
and for one, period pieces are expensive.
yeah,
So maybe that was part of it. I don't know. Of course, too, when they were pitching it, they didn't have the actors. So at the time, it was all writing. So there you
yeah,
go. Um, the scene, the scene where they take the Ark to the warehouse.
yes.
Have you read about that?
Uh, no, I don't think so.
In the final scene where the Ark is stored in this massive warehouse among all these other crates,
Yeah.
was filmed in England and involved a matted painting that took 3 months to complete. The
Hmm.
painting extended the set by adding rows of
Oh yeah,
crates. So
yeah.
the whole
Okay.
it was a used it was a used painting. So it
Yeah, that they
basically
use that a ton in
yeah
Star Wars. These glass
yeah
matte paint. Like
yes
most of the stormtroopers on the Death Star that are standing
hmm
in rows, almost
yeah
all of them are painted, and there's like actually like 15 or
yeah
20 active
exactly
people.
yeah exactly,
Yeah,
which is fascinating because you really can't tell the difference.
I,
It's,
dude, matte painting, shooting through matte painting, matte glass. It, there's some amazing things. If you
yeah
look online to look at matte painting special effects, it, and part of the reason it was so good in the 80s is because that had been done since early on. Like Charlie Chaplin did matte paint shooting.
yeah
Like he would do these things where it looked like he was like about to fall off a building, but in reality it was a matte painting and he was just standing next to an edge that wasn't there. It was just the rest of the floor.
yeah
But the matte painting made it look like it
yeah
was like so that technology had evolved so much over the last, 30 years that by the time we get to Star Wars and Raiders, it just looks seamless. And
yeah
honestly, that's what we do now with digital set extensions.
yes that's
It, it,
anymore that's what
it's
we
it's
do.
today's map painting,
Yeah,
except we just put people in a green
so
screen
yeah, it's
and
all
we
digital now.
digitally paint around them.
Yeah
The fascinating part was you had to know the geometry to make the matte painting
yeah
and had to make it before the shoot.
before
So it was a lot harder.
yeah it
In all
was.
reality, it was a lot harder, but it looks so convincing.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what really makes, except for the one scene we talked about. I call it the Ghostbuster scene.
Yeah,
Uh, but I do think this stand the test of time. I think
I think so.
it's and I think let's look at movies today where the CGI is not that great, and we give them a pass.
Yeah.
This is done in the 1980s, but it doesn't feel like a 1980s film to me. That's what's nice about it.
Hmm.
It's not. I mean, yes, some of the technology, but it really feels like a period piece.
Hmm.
The writing is good, the dialogue is good, so much creativity because they
Yeah.
had. I mean, what they had to work with, and from my reading, most of the cast really. I mean, it seems like there was really a camaraderie on set, and I have
Hmm.
a feeling that's why Harrison Ford wanted to be more involved with Indiana Jones than his with Han Solo. I think there was something about his relationship with Spielberg. He really liked
Mm.
working with Spielberg. I don't know.
You don't think
Again,
it was because I'm the lead character instead of one of the support one? I won't. I wouldn't say Harrison
I,
Ford is a supporting cast member. Star Wars is more of an ensemble cast,
yeah,
in my opinion. There's not a lead actor, a lead actress. I mean, yes, Luke Skywalker, yes, Darth Vader, but it's more of an ensemble. If you don't have everybody, it would feel incomplete.
And maybe to yeah,
Indiana Jones is Harrison
Harrison
Ford
Ford.
is Indiana Jones. He is the lead actor. Everybody else is supporting his movie.
I kind of think after this is my guess. I don't know. Maybe after Raiders of the Lost Ark, it gave Harrison Ford. I was a leading actor, and it's ensemble. Even though there is a cast ensemble that has to do with Star Wars, he may feel, and maybe some will say that the A part is about the journey of Skywalker becoming a Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe he felt like that here's Luke Skywalker, and he has an actual, he is actually growing. His character is deep and it's growing. And that was one of his complaints about Solo, which I always argued. I always argued back saying, well, here was this selfish pirate, smuggler,
Yeah,
and he decided to give up, his reward, even though it was a threat on his life to come save his friends and be part of the rebellion. So,
yeah,
I, so anyway, I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Han Solo does have a story arc. He does have a
yeah,
growth
he does.
process, but I can see where you know it is supposed to be Luke's story. The
Yeah,
original trilogy is supposed to be Luke's story, but
yeah,
Han Solo is just such a big part of it.
he
I mean,
is.
it, the the
He wouldn't
whole
be. Yeah,
reason the whole reason for the beginning of the third movie is because of Han Solo.
yeah, exactly.
so
That's right.
I, I so that's why I say it feels like more of a ensemble cast. But
Yeah, that's how I feel. But
if I was an actor and I had the option to be in a ensemble cast or to play a really great part, but I'm not technically the main story,
yeah,
or I can be the lead actor and it can be all about me. If you were an actor, having that lead role is going to be more impactful,
yeah, it's going to be a bigger temptation to do. Yeah,
and it's going to honestly, it's going to do more for your career long term.
yeah, exactly.
So it makes sense for why he would want this character over Han Solo.
Yeah,
I can totally buy that.
yeah. I think he wanted out of the contract so he could do other lead roles, and
Yeah.
but he got stuck. Haha. But no, I mean, and he got what he's wanted later on. But anyhow, that was like
Yeah.
what 60 years later or whatever. So anyhow,
He's done so
but
many things,
he's done so many things.
and he's been
I
the
really,
president so many times.
yeah, he's been the president too. I mean, come on, what can you say about that? And now he's going to be a general, or would he be a president again, or he's going to be a
No,
Red Hawk?
he's good. All three,
Okay,
all three from what I've read.
all three. Okay,
He is General Ross. He will be Red Hulk, and he's going to be the president of the United States.
hey, talking about wearing several hats.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I really, as far as I'm concerned, this does. We talked about it. It does, does stand the test of time, and I think it's a great movie. And it's
I'm
one of
with you.
those films that I think a lot of film students, should sit down and watch, and I'm sure they can get a lot out of it.
Oh yeah,
I think it can be required watching in film school. I really do think that has that kind of, I think that has that kind of, what I want to say, substance to it that a
yeah.
student could get out of. But
Oh,
anyway,
absolutely.
I mean, that's all I really have. Like I said, I really love the movie. I'm glad we decided to do this because
Yeah,
it gave me an opportunity to watch it again, and I didn't realize how long it's been since I've watched it. So this
yeah.
has been a
Great
really
movie.
treat tonight. And if you have any comments about it, what your thoughts about it, put in the comments below. Hey, be sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you see us on YouTube, like, subscribe, please. I guess usually it's like this, right? When you tell
Yeah,
people
somewhere down there,
like down
somewhere
there
down below.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. We still haven't got that down yet after how many years? But yeah. And we're on the YouTube/Speaking Nerdy, and that's our YouTube channel. You can go to speakingnerdy.com where you can have access to our audio podcasts on every streaming service you can think of. And also you can have us on, of course, we'll be have our video podcast, which is also on YouTube. We're
Yep.
on Facebook, on the Instagrams, now and then on the Tickety Talks. We're everywhere. We're everywhere, man. We're everywhere. There's no way you can get rid of us. I mean, there is a way, but I don't think it's legal. Anyway, I'm done.
This has been the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Man, wish I had my fedora. I could have worn my fedora. That would have been really cool. And I would have a whip and I could like practice on Tiffany. I think that would have been awesome. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, as far as, she would hold up something and I would like hit it with, never mind, I'm already in trouble.